Welcome to Conty Chat. My name is Diana Hashim and I will be your host for today. Now remember, if you want to catch any of our previous interviews, and there have been some really fascinating topics, mind you, make sure you follow us on all our social media accounts at Conty Chat, and also find us at MyTV at Salaran123. But today I have a very, very special guest in the studio today. We're actually going to talk about social media toxicity. Now, it is something that is fortunately around for us to utilize to connect with people. Unfortunately, it can get extremely addictive, and therefore we're going to look into it a little bit more, because as of January 2022, about 91.7% of the Malaysian population are active social media users. So who better to have a chat with but our YB Tioni Ching, the Deputy Minister of Communication and Digital. Thank you so much, YB, for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation as well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, we're going to talk about social media toxicity specifically because, I mean, it is a wonderful tool to get everyone together to learn more about information, but taking it to the next level, sometimes people abuse this platform, unfortunately, and people use social media, whether it's a source of entertainment, news, maybe even searching for a life partner, all these like accounts, these apps. But as a Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital, how do you consume social media and how much does it affect your daily life?
I think as a politician, even before I become a Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital, as a politician, social media is a platform where we get all sorts of information. It's not just the news, but also the reaction and the response of the netizen. That's where we found out what is the hot topic, anything goes wrong, anything that we need to do certain things, do some things to actually rectify it. So yes, you're talking about those addicted to social media. I would not call myself, I would not say I'm addicted to it, but browsing through all the social media has almost become part of my job and definitely my daily life as well. So for me, it's not just for personal contact connection. I mean, my connection with some of my like family members perhaps who is far away. But for me, as a politician, it's almost like a platform for me to get the feedback from the people, and also for the people to actually reach out to me. Because I think compared to the zaman, to the era where we don't have the social media, whereby people need to come to our office in order to meet us, or they have to call us in order to talk to us. But now, social media has also become a very useful tool for them to actually reach out to us, and then we can know what is really happening on the ground. And also at the same time, very important for us is to actually has a very general assessment about the sentiment of the people towards certain announcement or statements.
So, golden question, how often are you actually on social media? How many hours a day do you reckon?
Wow, that is a difficult question to answer, frankly speaking. Because, for example, when we are sitting in the car, I think it's very usual and very common for us to check our phone, to check the WhatsApp, of course, but also the social media. I would say it, ever since I was appointed as a Deputy Minister, I think the time for me to browse through social media has actually reduced because we got so many back-to-back meetings,
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, I would say it's very common for me when I got nothing more urgent to attend to. It's almost become a habit, you know. Having a meal, suddenly waiting for the meal to be served, checking at the phone. So sometimes you need to remind yourself. Like my husband complained once. Actually, not just once. Because it's not paying attention. And you are not being polite, I would say. So I become more mindful that, especially when I have a very small gathering or go out with my husband, with the children, then we should put our phone aside.
That's a very, very wise advice, YB. Thank you for that. And it's very, very true. Like, as what you said, it is one of the best ways to actually start connecting with people, especially from the ground. And because otherwise, prior to this, they'd have to find other methods of getting in touch, like what you said, going into office, writing letters, for example. But nowadays, it can be a bit intense on social media, what with the number of users, and it can be turned into a very toxic environment. Like recently, there's Malaysia's social media was flooded with threats on racist racist remarks. Whether it's done on purpose or not, it will affect the perpaduan efforts promoted by our Prime Minister and the unity government as well. So how do you feel about this situation, and do you have any plans on rectifying it?
Of course, ever since YB Fahmi and myself appointed to the office, I think one of the key things is to fight hate speeches and also fake news. Because I think the damage that can be done through hate speeches and also fake news, we cannot underestimate the impact, the negative impact. And therefore, I think we face certain challenge, I must admit, because first of all, these speeches or the statements were made on social media. So that we are not the platform provider. So whenever we notice or identify something that is hateful, unhealthy, racist, etc., at our level, we have no power to take them down immediately because we have no direct control over Facebook, we have no direct control over TikTok. So what we can do at our level is to contact the social media platform provider and request them to remove it. But we must also understand, media social platform provider, they have their own screening procedure as well. I fully understand that because I must say, if not because social media provide us now I'm in government, but imagine that before 2008 we were pure opposition for almost like 50 years. For almost like 50 years. And if we don't have that particular platform, the Facebook, etc., at that particular time in 2008, I don't think we would be able to see the first political tsunami. So I fully understand that the platform provider, they also try to be neutral. They cannot simply take instruction from the government.
True.
Because if you give the government that type of power, and there is a potential danger that they will misuse their power and then to curb freedom of speech, which is something definitely not healthy. And yes, we are now in the government, but we cannot deny the chance that one day we will become opposition again. And we also don't want to set the precedent whereby we want to force Meta, force Google, force TikTok to take instruction for us. And then when we were the opposition, this type of precedent can be used against us as well to silence the opposition, which is definitely not something we want to see. So I think, yes, we try to build connections with the platform providers. I think it's important for us to build the mutual trust. Try to make them believe that first of all, we as government, we respect their professionalism, but we also hope that they can understand Malaysia context a little bit better, so that there are certain things that we think is dangerous, we think is unhealthy. When we send a request to them, hopefully they can assist us to actually take a further look at it, and then hopefully they can remove certain content. It cannot be 100%. We cannot be 100% because yes, I felt sometimes as well. When I asked them to remove certain content, but sometimes they did answer our request and then remove certain content that we think is unhealthy for the society in general. So I think this mutual trust is very important. We need to first of all convince them that we are not a government that who would like to misuse our power to silence opposition. But at the same time, we also hope the platform provider would understand the complexity or certain sensitive issue in Malaysia, in our society, that how people can actually purposely with intention to create certain controversial issues for their own political agenda or personal agenda, and then we need to put serious effort to make sure it won't happen.
Yeah, but it's also being able to hold themselves accountable, holding the other person accountable for stirring the pot, so to speak. And it can aggravate a situation quite badly, because at the end of the day, if we just simply put whatever we want to put on our social media, it's something that, we have to realize that there are the effects to it, the domino effects, what could potentially happen. I feel as though quite a lot of keyboard warriors, so they call them, or anonymous accounts, they will tend to think that, again, like what you said, with personal agendas or for their own benefits or whatever, it would be quite dangerous at the end of the day. So hopefully these platforms, social media platforms, are cooperative so far. Like, what you feel?
Yes. I think they are very responsive. We have met almost all of them. I think Twitter, TikTok, Meta as well, and also Google.
Wow.
So I think we have a very good starting point. So I hope that by as it goes by, they will understand that while we respect them as a platform provider, they want to protect freedom of speech. But there are certain issues that we hope that they can also understand the issue.
Yes, very, very complex, that term, freedom of speech, unfortunately.
Yes, a definition or the understanding or the how the border of freedom of speech, I think perhaps even a different country will also have different understanding.
Yes, very true. I believe so too. But let's move forward, YB. Let's look at social media in terms of what people see specifically, whether it is on videos or photographs, rather than like written content specifically, because this is where people see and people perhaps want to emulate or imitate. Because some people actually choose to show their lavish lifestyle on social media. They want to be seen as rich, influential, for example, which can, sort of get the young folks, the youngsters, the youth, for example, to want to try to achieve that sort of lifestyle. But because of that, there are moments where some people might not want to further their studies and become influencers instead. What is your opinion on this?
I think first of all, again, content creator. I mean, these days they call themselves content creator, and they have put out various type of content. And then these days, videos content is actually very can go viral very easily. And when they want to create certain content, of course they would like the video to go viral, and then therefore they would try to see what are the things that people like to see, and therefore it is very natural, or it's almost like impossible for us to stop this type of behavior. But I think this is something that the whole society need to take it as a whole. How do we educate the younger generation? Yes, you can see a few very successful influencers earning millions. They are some kids. My kids love to watch the channel, YouTube channel. There are certain kids who might want to be one of the top YouTuber, earning millions, or if I really don't know how much, but it's definitely one of the top YouTuber or YouTube channel, introducing or unboxing all the
toys. Yes. I've seen and heard of that. I'm like wondering what.
Prepare your kid. Okay, I know your kid is only 3 months old, but let's wait and see. During MCO period, it was one of the channel my kids love the most. Wow. They will look at it again and again, unboxing all the toys.
So have your kids ever gotten influenced by this? I mean, your kids specifically?
Sometimes they will ask whether they can have that toys as well. But usually we will tell them you can only enjoy. You can buy some things, toys, if you, for example, your birthday or something is for us to celebrate. And we always told them, you cannot use all your money to buy toys. You need to buy perhaps some books for you to read as well. So it's about, I think it's part of the teaching. So if you ask my kid, do you want to become a YouTuber? They will say yes. They will intimate the YouTuber and say, hello everybody, if you like my channel, please. My 7-year-olds can repeat that sentence to me. So I think it's about how we actually guide the younger generation. Some can be very successful, but how about others? Because they could be one out of thousands. And eventually when YouTuber is no longer something, because YouTuber is not really a career a few years ago, and how long this career can last as well. So long time investment, I think, is something that we all need to guide our younger generation to think about, to consider. I know people who complete their law degree, and then instead of going chambering, they join the industry to become a content creator, as a YouTuber.
Fantastic.
But if they are adult, I think I will respect this decision, because eventually, if this doesn't work out, I think there are still some other fallback plans as well. But so I think I have no problem. I think to empower our younger generation, but I think they need to make an informed decision, and they need to consider all the aspects.
Very, very true. I agree as well. All right, well, we're going to take a really short break, YB. I'm speaking to Yang Muhammad Teo Ni Ching, the Deputy Minister of Communication and Digital. And yes, we're talking about social media toxicity. We'll be right back.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam perpaduan. Ancaman dan serangan cyber berupaya menyebabkan berlakunya pelbagai insiden, antaranya ketirasan data, kecurian maklumat peribadi, pencerobohan, penggodaman, penipuan dalam talian serta skam, buli cyber dan sebagainya. Insiden sebegini berlaku disebabkan penggunaan teknologi dan internet yang tidak selamat, tanpa amalan terbaik yang sewajarnya. Justru, isu keselamatan cyber perlu diberi perhatian oleh semua pihak termasuk individu pengguna internet. Sempena sambutan Hari Keselamatan Internet 2023, saya menggesa semua pengguna internet untuk sentiasa berwaspada dan berhati-hati ketika berada di alam cyber sewaktu menggunakan internet, media sosial dan lain-lain aplikasi. Gunalah kemudahan teknologi ini dengan positif, berhemah dan penuh tanggungjawab bagi mewujudkan komuniti cyber madani. Selamat Hari Keselamatan Internet 2023. Sentiasa bijak, sentiasa selamat, bersama-sama ke arah kesejahteraan cyber.
The number of malicious and false statements spread by SMS or social media platforms have become too widespread. The public is advised to be careful and not fall for such ploys and sharing or forwarding such messages. Remember that spreading fake news is an offense under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. This carries a penalty of a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit or up to 1 year imprisonment or both upon conviction.
Welcome back to Conty Chat. I'm still with Yang Berhormat Teo Ni Ching, the Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital. We're talking about social media toxicity. Now, earlier on, we had dove into a little bit of of what has been happening with in terms of social media when it comes to influencing the youth, for example, the craziness and common factor of how young kids are unboxing toys, etc., etc. And this is where mothers and parents are experiencing at this point. But you made a really good point, YB, about how it is about how us as adults or the guardians to try to guide the youth to make sure that they make informed decisions when it comes to whether or not they should be influenced in terms of what they deal with in social media. But moving forward, though, I feel like another factor of what people have with social media, especially with the power of short videos, the stories on TikTok, on Instagram, for example. You can follow someone's life, the person's personal and professional life, so closely. You can see every nitty-gritty thing if you wanted to show it. But for a public figure such as yourself, who's always in the limelight, do you feel it is necessary to share everything in social media?
First of all, I do not think so, and because I think for the people who want to show everything on the social media, I think that is the way they want to get the attention. But as a politician, I do not think the way for me to get attention is to show my private life, but it's through my work as an MP, currently my work as a deputy minister. And we must all be reminded that whatever we put on the social media, it can never be removed. Even if you post one photo on Facebook today or a video on TikTok today, if later on you voluntarily remove it, but someone would have captured it, and then there's nowhere for us to delete it from the social media forever. So it will be there forever. And that's how actually I become very mindful about, I don't mind to share to a certain extent my personal life, because I want people to see that we are a real person. I'm not I think it's important for you to build up that relationship with the voters as well.
Yes.
How they see you, because they need to see our personal side a bit also, so that they know that what type of character we are, who we really are, etc. etc. I think they actually bring us closer to our voters. But at the same time, for example, information about our children, photos of our children. I can share one rather unhappy experience with you. Is that when I was still the Deputy Education Minister, I received some threat through Facebook, and the person would say that I know where your children are studying, so I know I cannot touch you, but you think I cannot touch your children.
Oh my.
So that's how I become, after that event, I become extra careful when I want to share anything about my children. Because first of all, yes, I think when they are baby, I uploaded their photo. But because I think a baby, and when they become a teenager, or now they are 7 years old, 9 years old, 11 years old, I think they don't totally look like the same anymore. So I think to show their photos as a baby is one thing, but if I want to show their photos now, where later on people will be able to identify, hey, this is actually who's children, I think that can be dangerous, especially for my work as a politician. And then you don't want to share too much personal information, because people can harm our beloved one. So we must be very, very cautious about that. So I know for certain career or for certain influencer, the way for them to get attention is to share almost everything of their life. But I think for my career as a politician, I do not think there's a need for me to do so. I need to be transparent. I need to be transparent about my income, even my husband's career. I cannot hide it because he's my spouse, etc. But at the same time, I think certain personal information, especially involving the young children, I think we need to be very, very careful. And that would be my advice, not just for politicians, but actually for all the parents.
Yeah, in fact, even for, I mean, there were moments of, there's a little bit of a reminder. I think this was a couple of years ago, I started to notice on social media where people started saying, please be wary of putting up your location and when you post your photos or videos up, because I think it was a social media influencer who had said that she was at a cafe and she had posted a photo immediately as soon as she was there, but not long after there were several people that just sort of bombarded her because they saw her photos. And so when things like that, consider your safety, I suppose. I think that's what YB is trying to say, and that's really, really great advice on that. But on a different note, like with technology advancing rapidly, things that you cannot do at home previously are now accessible wherever you are. Now, in a working environment, do you think a government body can work from home instead of coming into office?
I really think it depends on the nature of their work, what type of tasks they are doing. And I think it's not unusual for the corporate now to actually allow their staff, their employers to actually work from home, perhaps 2 to 3 days a week that they can actually work from home. So to me, it's actually really depends on what type of tasks that they need to handle. If you ask me, I think face-to-face discussion still have its value and advantage. But for certain tasks, I believe that people can do it from home and perform effectively while they are working from home. So if you ask me, I think generally speaking, I think there are times, occasions where we should have face-to-face meeting. But there are also occasions whereby the government servants, etc., they can be allowed to work from home, not 5 days a week, but perhaps 2 days a week, 1 day a week. And if so long as it doesn't affect them from carry out their duty, because this is quite widely adopted by the private sector as well. And if government sectors we do not adopt and adapt, I think we might be losing people to the private sector as well. So it's really something that I think all sectors should consider.
Yes, that's the balance of it all. After all, there's it's kind of like gives you the opportunity to see things in a different light from time to time, working at the desk and then working from home. Yes, I kind of do miss that moment sometimes, but at the same time, I'm quite happy happy that everyone is back at work. But unfortunately, YB, we're running out of time. But I do have one more question for you. Could you share with us briefly what changes you're hoping to implement as the Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital?
For my ministry, of course, we have a few agenda. First of all, of course, it's about the quality of internet. I think that one is everybody. I think internet is a necessity now. It's no longer a luxury item. It's not. It's a necessity. It's almost like as important as water, as important as electricity. So I think my duty, my responsibility in KKD, Ministry of Communications and Digital, is to make sure that we can improve the internet coverage and also quality. I think that is one of the top agenda of this ministry. And of course, yes, hate speeches, fake news is also one of the agenda, because hate speeches and also fake news not only affect our personal life, but also the harmony of the society and also the stability of the country. And therefore, this is an issue no one should underestimate. And then because of the convenience that provided by all these new technologies, I think personal data protection is also a very important new agenda for our nation. People might not feel that their personal data is so important previously, and perhaps at that point in time, cybercrime is not so rampant yet. But these days, actually, personal data is the new goal. And how do we make sure we enhance cyber security to make sure everybody can use the facility or the whatever convenience that the technology bring to us. At the same time, they feel safe to use all these platforms. I think it's also very important. So these are the three key areas we are looking at. There are many more. Cyber security is also definitely one. How to continue to promote e-commerce to make sure that we can revamp our digital economy to another level. All these are the agenda of the ministry. But I would say these three agenda that I mentioned just now is the three key agenda that we are looking at now.
All right, thank you so much for that, YB. I really appreciate your honesty, your transparency in answering all these questions. I reckon we continue to follow you on our social media accounts and drop you a message anytime. We'll disturb you from time to time. And if YB does reply, it means basically she's about to receive her food. She's waiting to wait for her food. But thank you so much for joining me, YB. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me today.
Not a
Thank
problem,
you.
not a problem. I'm speaking to Yang Muhammad Tioni Ching, Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital. Now remember, you can continue to follow us on our social media accounts at Conty Chat. We're also on Spotify and MyTV Saluran 123. My name is Diana Hashim. I'll catch you again soon. Bye.